Boy, grab this pitchfork. It turns out that the maker of this video has only around 1,000 hours of combined playtime in MMOs. He is thus a heretic, a wrongdoer, a wrong believer. I think we went around this way and
Everyone!
Oh crap. Alright, let me explain. I see. You are finally here. Let us find a more peaceful spot for our discussion. Much better. Now on to business. I've personally known several people who've played MMOs as their main genre of game exclusively. That is why I also joined in when I started playing MMOs. What the? You see, in most cases gamers are a more socially coherent group than they get credit for. Thusly, something like a good game that is not advertised can go through social circles and word of mouth to becoming a hit overnight.
Tästä mahtavaa videokuvaa, kun pesantti tekee töitä.
Fuck you! I could say my introduction to the genre was through friends. That first title was WoW, after the Mist of Pandaria update dropped. I played Pandaria Monk to around level 30.
Oh my gosh! Is that other greatest thing you've ever seen?
And I dropped the game. Then again, the majority of my friend group started playing Black Desert during 2019, when the game enjoyed a large surge in popularity. I played over 500 hours within one summer, then dropped the game entirely. Then in 2021, Final Fantasy XIV got its Endwalker update, and everyone was playing the game. I got dragged along with my friends, played to about level 60, and then dropped out of the game. I've begun playing Final Fantasy again a few years later, since Endwalker was on sale, and the game has been quite fun. However, it's gotten me thinking about MMOs and how we play them in general, and I've begun to wonder what I had observed over the years and started to notice a pattern. The way I've played, and the way all of my friends have played, is the same. First phase is usually murmurs of an upcoming MMO, or talks of streamers playing something that looks great. Truly, the streamers in this particular case are the pathfinders. They show us first what to do.
But I shower about once a week.
Next phase is thus inevitably investment. We buy the game, we play the game for a week or two, maybe even a month. However, phase 3 is inevitably getting nowhere near the endgame, only to quit the game for the foreseeable future. I'm far from the only one with this experience on MMOs. Heck, look at the player charts in any MMO spanning a few years lengths of time. A typical pattern is a seesaw. Players arriving in mass and leaving in mass after every expansion. Next you'll say that partly this is due to players clearing through the content and then waiting for the next update to drop. Well, that is certainly true. This, however, I think represents a minority of the player population. What I personally have observed is that in most cases, these new players get nowhere near for what in MMO terms we'd call endgame. It doesn't take a scientist to figure out that MMOs advertise to their audiences with their endgames. High-tier armor sets and fashion, glowing weapons, high-level dungeons with new tricks and mechanics, epic challenges, the stuff of legend, like beating the Lich King instantly. This is what is brought to us, with the caveat that we have to first reach said heights through the old MSQs and content. Well, the first example with Mist of Pandaria may not seem that unusual, considering that I was 14 at the time, but for the others, my personal experience has always been tied to something that I was forced to do in search of the content I actually wanted to do. this could be attributed to a single phrase that MMO communities love to spread around. The one phrase to rule them all. It gets better after level something. This single utterance is the essence of what I think drives new players away and makes them quit. To reach the good stuff, players are expected to grind through what is considered to be mediocre or even bad content. Usually in the case of MMOs, two things contribute to this: class design complexity and quest design complexity. Regardless of how complex your endgame is, typically it begins with only a small number of abilities you are able to use. This can also vary greatly based on the class you've chosen. You could have a few simple chains of attacks that grow in variety as you level up.
Or whatever this is.
Secondly, there is a tendency that old content is way less appealing. By this, I mean, like in the case of Final Fantasy XIV, if the story isn't the single hook intriguing you, I don't know what is. But the early game certainly isn't that intriguing when you get to it. Many might fondly remember running to Waking Sands 100 times, and there's even justified lore reasons why you have to do so. It still isn't good design. People remember it because it was so awful it was funny. Old content, and especially dungeons, have become a half step that you need to cross. No! It's simply a barrier that doesn't really give you any meaningful rewards. It's something you have to get through. Same goes for quest design. Many times you'll find yourself fetching items, killing mobs that have a random chance of dropping the items you need, and click here to stand around for 20 seconds types of quests. With like 3 buttons you can press. A monkey with a controller could probably pass a Realm Reborn given enough time. And bananas, you know. And oh lord, if you pick the wrong class and don't like how it plays, switching will force you to do it all over again. It's like a multi-layer package you have to open only to find out that there's just a pair of socks underneath it all. However, I think the main Achilles heel, but also the defining characteristic of MMOs, is the long time investment required for completion. Because in most cases it will take hundreds of hours, at the least. For most people, for a single game, that's a huge investment to make. Usually stuff like heirlooms and items that ease up your leveling are unlocked slowly over time. So you could say your first playthrough is always going to be the most difficult. If your only motivation tying you to the game is following trends of the time, chances are you're not going to stick around for long. If it on top of this feels like the game does not respect your time, and it takes too long to see any results, players quit. It's akin to a perfectionist trying to learn how to play guitar, finding out that even after countless hours of practice, they can't achieve the results they expected to achieve. In a good MMO, the flashy endgame items are only the initial attraction. However, the game itself will offer other activities that the player might get lost in. Life skills, capitalism, minigames, parkour, social activities. What truly burns a player out is metaphorically soaring too high, too quickly, and burning out. My personal take is that MMOs are best enjoyed in moderation. It is much more enjoyable to let the long journey unwind over time, rather than trying to reach endgame by playing days on end. Alright, this was my take. You might agree with it or not. Take into account that I'm a new player, quote unquote. I don't have much time in MMOs personally. At least in MMO terms, I don't think hundreds of hours count for anything, when something like reaching endgame might take 1,000 hours in some cases. However, I do hope you enjoyed my little ramble here, and I hope my editing is satisfactory. I use free software, so it is kinda slow to do this, and I'm not sure if my work is of satisfactory quality, but I nevertheless hope you enjoy. Also, sir, if you could press the funny red button underneath. Subscribe, please. Alright, until next time.
Yhtä kringeä saakeli.
Cringe.